Hi everybody, I'm Monica.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Triple Digs, where we share with you our adventures of being pet-sitting digital nomads.
In this weekly recap video, we'll look over our activities for the week of January 8th, 2024 through January 14th, 2024. But first, let's take a quick look at what we did last week. So last week, we were in Sydney, Australia. We just finished our first complete week in our sitting in Sydney. And during that week, we did frog duties for the first time. So that was interesting, taking care of frogs, feeding the frogs, and cleaning their enclosure. We also took a trip to the Blue Mountains and saw some amazing scenery.
Okay, a couple highlights from this week. We watched the series The Bear, which is on Disney Plus, and it was really good. We enjoyed it a lot. We also took a scenic coastal walk. We took the Manly Ferry to Circular Quay, and we checked out the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Let's take a quick look at our pet sitting calendar for our upcoming gigs. So currently we are in Sydney, Australia, doing a sitting that we started in the last week of December. After this sitting, we'll be taking a travel day and going up the coast to Newcastle. We'll stay there for a week or so, and then after that, we're going to fly over to Melbourne, Australia. Once that sitting's done, our 3-month visa in Australia will expire, so we need to get out of here. So we're going to fly over to New Zealand and actually take a little vacation there in Queenstown and on the North Island.
Woohoo!
After that vacation, we're going to start a new sitting in Auckland. And then we have a 3-week gap before we do the same sitting for the same people in Auckland again. So we're currently trying to fill that 3-week gap between those two sittings.
Uh-oh.
Once we finish our sittings in New Zealand, we're going to hop back over to the States and stay with Monica's cousin in Georgia for a week or so. And then we're going to hop over to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean and take a week-long vacation there.
Ooh, yeah.
Once we finish that vacation, we're going to start a new 3-month pet sitting gig in the island of Curacao. This will be looking after 9 dogs and 2 cats, so that should be interesting. Once we finish that sitting, we're going to hop back over to Georgia, and then we'll fly to Okinawa, Japan, so that Monica can do a 2-week teacher workshop for her online teaching job. After that, we'll come back to the States, where we have about a 2-month gap until we start our confirmed sitting in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, a quick calendar update. There haven't been any changes in our pet sitting calendar. We're still looking for gigs to fill the 3-week gap in New Zealand. We're still waiting for a response on a New Zealand gig that we applied for 2 weeks ago. Through the Trusted House Sitter site, we can see that the host viewed our application and our follow-up message, but we still haven't received a response. So sometimes there's a waiting period, but they usually get back to us shortly after that.
And with the pets, we mentioned last week that she likes to jump at and bark cars as they're passing by us when we take her for a walk. Unfortunately, we didn't see any improvement in that behavior. It was cool to go on the weekends to the dog park because it doubled as a cricket field. So we got to watch some cricket though. Interesting to see it. With the cats, no changes there. They were as affectionate as they've always been. They love to cuddle up with us and purr and make us pet them. So really lovely cats to have. The other thing about these animals, they've really warmed up to us to the point where they're all sleeping on the bed with us.
Yeah.
So, all 3 animals, 2 cats and a dog, on the bed, between us, at our feet, at our side. Something we're getting used to. No space. At least they don't wake us up in the middle of the night, so I am happy with that.
Okay, on the digital nomad topic, no changes this week. We're still experiencing good internet and Wi-Fi. The technology has been great, being able to use the monitors and the printer. But one thing was Matt's work team was downsized, but Matt still has his job, which we're super grateful for. It was a reminder of how lucky we are and to make the most of this opportunity. Okay, as far as daily living, we're getting more comfortable into our living routine. Matt wakes up early and he gets logged on to work. I usually take the dog for a short walk, and then I make us some delicious coffees, and then maybe I do some painting or I prep for work. We usually go for an evening walk. That's been really nice. We've also just finished our 2nd week of the T25 workouts with Shanti. So this has been fun. They're 25-minute workouts, and we nail it. We nail the workouts. And we also finished the series The Bear. We wanted to make sure we finished it because we don't pay for any streaming services.
Yeah, this was the first sitting out of 15 sittings that has had Disney Plus. So we don't know when we'll get Disney Plus again. We really wanted to make sure we watched both seasons before we left. And we weren't disappointed. It's a great show. So if you haven't seen The Bear, check it out. All right, let's take a quick look at our expenses this past week. So for groceries, we only spent $74 US, which was it was well under our $200 a week budget. I think a lot of that was actually food being offered to us by the hosts. So they said, have whatever you want. Make yourself at home, eat whatever we have. And so we took a bump on it.
Yeah, they had a lot of meat and stuff frozen in the freezer. So we definitely dug in there for a little bit.
Protein costs money, so that saved us a lot of money there.
Very grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, for dining, which is eating out, we spent $48 US. This was when we went on our day trip. We spent money on snacks before and after our coastal walk, and then we had dinner at a restaurant that evening as well. For fuel and transportation costs, we spent $23. This was mainly for using public transportation and Uber to get around for our trip that we took for that coastal walk. All right, next item, fun. Once again, like last week, we spent $0. We had no
fun. Just kidding.
No, actually, the activity we did, which was the coastal walk, which we'll talk about in a minute, it's a free walk. It's in a national park, so the walk itself is free. And then walking around the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, that's also free. Also this week for personal care and personal shopping, we did not spend a single penny. And here's a quick look of our budget. So as we mentioned, here are the amounts that we spent during week 2. These all total to $145. And here is our weekly budget. And the total for the week was $416. So as we can see, we spent well under our weekly budget. That was mainly due to the groceries and dining. And if we track our year-to-date expenses so far this year, which is only 2 weeks, we spent this much on our line items, totaling $447. And here's the year-to-date budget for the line items, totaling $831. So basically what this means is our budget has us spending $831 for these first 2 weeks. In reality, we've only spent $447. So that's about half of our budget so far.
Nice.
And if we take a look, it's mainly groceries and dining. We did go over on personal care because of those massages from last week, but everything else was under budget. So we're looking really good at the start of this year. Let's talk about that excursion that we took. So first thing we did was that scenic coastal walk. First, let's do a quick geography lesson if you're not familiar with Australia or Sydney. So here we have a map of Australia, and over here on the southeast-ish corner is Sydney. And if we zoom in, you can see that we have the Sydney Opera House here. And if you go east and look at that inlet, that is the entrance to the Sydney Harbour that runs basically from Manly up here all the way down to the Sydney Opera House. So if we zoom in towards the section with Manly, we can see that there's a bridge on the left here, and it's called the Spit. And then over on the right side is Manly. The scenic walk starts at that Spit Bridge, goes around that peninsula, and ends up at the Manly Ferry. We actually did not start at the Spit Bridge. We started about halfway through the walk here at this lookout, and then walked all the way around towards Manly until we reached the ferry terminal. From there, we took the ferry through Sydney Harbour all the way to the Sydney Opera House. So Monica, how was the scenic walk for you?
It was really nice. So the Manly Scenic Walkway is part of Sydney Harbour National Park, and it's a free walking trail that is 6 miles long, and it covers both bush and beaches with beautiful views of Sydney Harbour. It contains Aboriginal rock engravings, several lookouts, and multiple beaches, big ones and small ones, beautiful water, lots of sailboats, lots of yachts. It was really, really nice. We started at a lookout halfway on the walkway, and we made our way to Reef Beach. Then we continued on the path and reached 40 Baskets Beach. And then we walked to Fairlight Beach, and there were lots of people that were in this big pool, like natural pool that was right by the water, called Fairlight Rock Pool. A lot of families, lots of people just enjoying the outdoors and the weather in the summer. And then lastly, we arrived at the Manly Wharf, and then we took the Manly Ferry back to Circular Cape, which is a major transportation hub of Sydney. It contains a large rail, bus, ferry station. It's also the site of the Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge. We walked around and took pictures of the Opera House. We even saw a huge cruise ship passing under the bridge. And it was just really cool to see such an iconic place to visit.
Yeah, if you go to Sydney, we highly recommend doing those activities.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's wrap up this week. So this is the time when we each share a favorite moment from the week or share something we're looking forward to for next week. So Monica, what are your thoughts?
Well, of course, I loved seeing the Sydney Opera House and the beautiful beaches on that walk. But I do look forward to doing some more watercolor paintings. I've discovered a bunch of new watercolor channels on YouTube, so I'm looking forward to looking through those videos and trying some things out. How about you, Matt?
Well, for me, the big win was helping the dog eat properly out of a bowl, like a real dog should. In my mind, it's like, wow, this is kind of ridiculous, feeding one spoon at a time to the dog on the ground. So super stoked that we were able to work all the way up to putting an entire can in the bowl. And, as they say in Australia, no dramas.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, good learning moment for us.
Yeah, Pickles did great.
Yeah, Pickles.
She is a great little dog.
Yeah.
So that's our wrap up for the week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next dig.